And the reality is that we're all unlimited creators with infinite power, infinite access to power. And the only thing that can deny that power is if you close yourself off from it. If you allow your attention to be on a limited view of yourself.
Yeah.
Or if you see yourself as an expanded, unlimited being that can do anything.
Yeah.
If you see yourself that way, then you can embody that.
Standing in the water, swimming through the fire. I can't even call it. All I know is this will be the last time. Time to walk out that door. I don't wanna hear anymore. Whoa, oh, I can feel it in my core. We might have to take it by force. Cause we are the ones we waiting for. We are the ones we waiting for. We are the
What up? Welcome back. Welcome back for me. Welcome back for you. We took a little break for the holidays, for the winter break, and we back, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in with us each and every Wednesday, right here, wherever you get your pod. If you're not watching the visual, and I don't know why you wouldn't, right here on YouTube. Every Wednesday, we're dropping anywhere that you listen to your podcast, and we thank y'all so much for your support. This is the We Are the Ones podcast, and I'm your host, Kareem Manuel. I'm excited to have this conversation to continue to just learn skills, tools, attitudes, engagements to be the absolute healthiest human being I can be with my time on this earth, and hopefully share that with a lot of people who are looking to do the same. So make sure you leave a like, subscribe so you can be alerted every time we drop something new. We're going to continue to bring dope guests, dope energy. And if you engage right, you know what I'm saying, we're going to keep giving the free stuff out to the people that are supporting us because we love you, we appreciate you, and we feel the love right back. So, as we do for every pod, to get started, before I even introduce who it is, we're going to go right into our drop in and check in, and then I'm going to introduce our guest. Before every conversation, we just tap in with some breath. So if you could, please close your eyes, get comfortable, feel your feet on the ground, feel your body in your chair. If you are at work or you're operating heavy machinery or need to be occupied doing something else, just do this part as much as you can, but keep your eyes open. But if you can, just come and relax all the way in. Just feel the air around you on your skin. Feel the thoughts running across the mind or not. And we're going to take a breath in for 5, hold at the top for 5, breathe out for 5, hold at the bottom for 5, and I will snap to keep time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. Biggest breath you taking all day. In. Hold. Out. Relax. Relax, relax, relax. Hold. Begin to bring your breath back to a regular cadence. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, move your body around, open your eyes, and take in your space when you are ready. I'm going to ask this question to you, brother, and then I'll give you some space to introduce yourself. And as I ask this, you can also answer this in your mind at home. What are you present to right now, just in your body, in your energy, on your mind? What feelings, emotions, thoughts are you present to that you can share just as a check-in for our convo?
I just ate some really good food, so I'm feeling the digestion working.
Yeah.
I'm also feeling some energy flowing internally. Like I like to microdose and or tank a little bit of tinctures sometimes. It helps me flow more smoothly, it helps ease my anxiety at times. But lately I've been feeling that like flow without taking anything. And I feel like it's because my heart is slowly being opened more and more. And that energy that you have, for those of us that have done ecstasy before, when you feel your that energy flowing and you're like, oh, it feels so good. Like I'm feeling that in a natural way. And that comes through doing work, like being engaged in
Yeah,
intimate relationships and having different parts of your being triggered and then working through those triggers. And then when you work through them, there's an expansion. Just like when you go to the gym and you work out those muscles, you got that burn, but then the next day you got the pump.
you
You know what I'm
know,
saying?
and
Like
feeling
I'm
good, looking
experiencing
good.
that in my heart and energy body.
I love that. I love that a lot. For me, what am I present to? I'm present to just a lot of excitement, to be here right now, to be with producer Keith behind the boards, to be with you. And I have no idea where this is gonna go, what's gonna say, but every time I get a chance to talk to you, I just know that so much love and healing comes out, and I'm really excited to see where it goes and to ride the wave. Um, yeah, and to be back. So I feel I'm present to just excitement, hope, and love. And so with that said, my guest today, Dijon Bowden, this is my interpretation of you over the last year and a half, 2 years that I've known you, maybe. A culture maker, community builder and healer, a man of action and principle, who does what he says he's gonna do, cares for the people, an entrepreneur, the founder and leader of Dharma Glow Festival and Movement, among many, many other things. Dijon Bowden, ladies and gentlemen, give it up. One time, one time, one time.
Sexual chocolate. They play so fine, don't you agree?
Don't you agree? Anything else you wanted to say for the people to just have some type of framework or context of who you are and what medicine you're bringing right now?
You know, I really appreciate that reflection that you just gave. You know, I'm familiar with the entirety of my journey, and we've known each other for the past year and a half. And to hear that that's how you view me feels great, you know, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'm very honored to be here. And I love what you do in the world. I love that we've been building together since the moment we met, playing
Yep.
hot dice.
Hot dice, baby.
And I would say the other arena that I'm powerfully stepping into and claiming is just as a musical artist.
Same, my man.
And I woke up the other day just feeling the power of that. And I released my first song under my name in 2022.
Mm.
And up until the end of last year, you know, it had like less than 1,000 streams. I had maybe like 166 followers on Spotify because it wasn't something I was putting really energy into. It was like a shadow career. If you ever done like the artist way,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, they talk about in the war of art, they talk about like shadow artists, where it's like you want to be an artist in some way, but you don't put your full energy into it so that you can say, if it doesn't work out, well, I didn't put my
I
full
didn't give it
energy
all, so
into
you
it,
know.
right? So I've been peeling back the layers of the ways in which I've been in my shadow in relation to really going all in my artistry. And I really pulled that shit back because I released a song with Chris and Teeb and Rissa and Mello Will on January 1st, Loving on Myself.
Loving on myself
Loving on
today.
myself
Loving on
today.
myself today.
So, you know, I was making reels for that and like pushing past discomfort with like how I wanted to express myself and just letting it flow, not
Yeah.
being perfectionist about it. And it's got over 7,000 streams now. I got over like 3,600 monthly listeners.
Come on.
So it's about celebrating whatever. Because if you compare it to other people, you can say, "Oh, so and so has 100,000 or 1,000,000. It's not enough." But it's like, what percentage increase is that from 3,600, 166 to 3,600, right?
Almost night and day, actually.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like 3,000%.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was like, Okay, so I got almost 4,000. You know, if I release a song every month and push it, I could get to 50,000 in a year. I was like, "That's reasonable." And I was like, "Yeah, that is reasonable. You could totally do that." And I was like, "Fuck that. I didn't come here to be reasonable.
Be
I
unreasonable.
came here to be a pure expression of the divine, infinite, unlimited, eternal, and claim everything that's mine." Which means I will have 1,000,000 monthly listeners by the end of 2024 on Spotify. You heard it here first. Holler at your boy.
Wow. That's how we starting. That's how we starting.
Yeah.
So what, man, there's so many things I want to ask you in relationship to that. First, I want to touch on, you say you just peeling the layers back. What was holding you back, whatever fear, what was that process like for you? If there are any things that you can distill and bring out to say, this is what I needed to do to my heart to even see myself, accept myself, and say, I'm going after this. I'm not going to keep putting other things in the way that can help me say, well, maybe, I didn't try as hard, blah, blah. But to go all in, what was that process like for you? Or
Yeah.
is it like for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lifelong process. It's
Yeah.
a daily process. You know, I'm 41 years old. So it's been something that's been happening my entire journey. And inner child healing is a big part of it, where you're creating from a space of play and excitement and not searching for validation. And I grew up in a household without my father. So I think there was always some sense of looking to be validated
Yeah, for
because you think
sure.
there's something wrong with you because, you didn't have that relationship. So even though I had achieved a lot of success in other creative avenues, it was like, see, I'm a good person. Like before I would have been really hungry for that reflection that you gave as a source of validation for my worth. And now it's not. I appreciate it,
Yep.
but it's not like I know who I am. And the only person I'm looking to be in alignment with is God. And if I'm in alignment with God and I know when I am and when I'm not, because that's an intuitive like feeling that everyone has access to. If I'm in alignment with God, then I'm good. Right. So that's one. And then knowing why you're creating and what your intention is. So the reason why I can be steadfast and claim my 1,000,000 monthly listeners on Spotify is because my intention is not to be validated to say like, "Oh, look at me." It's because music is the most powerful legacy that you can leave as a human being. It's frequency, it's the only thing that can enter someone's aura without their permission, like from any distance, right? Like you can be in a field and play music, and that music is going to influence the energy of that whole space,
Yeah.
right? Like scent is like that because if you go into a place and it smells a certain way, it's also going to influence the
Hmm.
space. But scent has a proximity, right? Whereas music is like, you know,
Yeah.
it's ubiquitous, right? And you can also just pick up your phone, pick up whatever. So if you think about what happens when you turn on Bob Marley or Lauryn Hill or Pac or somebody like that, and like how much energy and inspiration is given to me in my life and for other people, like way after you're gone. You can only release one album like Lauryn Hill, and every time you listen to it, you get
Still,
more
was it
out of it,
25 years is still.
right? So for me, when I just recognize it's like as an entrepreneur and you're thinking about businesses and you're thinking about ROI, right? Like, what's the biggest return I can get on my investment, whether it's money or time or whatever. So for me, the point of life is to be an expression of God's love. That's the only reason that anyone is here, right? To be an expression of God's love. How you do that is unique to you. And that's for you to decide, right? But if you're thinking about what's going to give the greatest return on my time and energy to be an expression of God's love, it's music.
Do you think do you think that if everyone's here to be an expression of God's love, that everyone does that no matter what they decide?
Everyone is playing their role in the bigger picture. And how you view somebody's role depends on your own level of awareness and perspective. So if someone is the villain in a story, that's just because of the perspective that you're sitting in,
Okay.
right?
Okay, I'm about to ask you something else. And because we've talked about this before. Um, so when Ye says, oh, 400 years, that sounds like a choice to me.
Right.
and everybody loses it.
Hmm.
How would you perceive that, and where we are in the story when it comes to uh slavery, liberation, our uh our interfacing with choice and power or lack thereof, um as being an example of God's love? How what are some ways that you process that?
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Was Jesus free?
Yeah.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still not sure if the person Jesus existed, but from what I understand about him, what I take from him, yeah, absolutely free in
Okay.
every moment.
Well, that's another topic, whether it existed.
Yeah.
Um, okay, but if you're going to say that he was free,
Mhm.
right? The reality of the Jewish people at that time was they were occupied by the Romans.
Yep.
So he literally was not free.
Mm.
Like they had to pay taxes just to live,
Yep.
right? They also had the Sadducees and the Pharisees that they had to, make their sacrifices to appease Jehovah, right? But he was outside of that construct. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
Because of
sure.
his spiritual awareness and the way he carried himself in his life. So even though he had these outside forces imposing these things on him, he was free. He freed other people, and he's been the most influential human being that's ever lived. Especially, and that's even more impressive, especially if he didn't exist. I think he did exist. I think
Mhm.
he was a living, was a living
But if he
person.
wasn't, and he's still just like, man, you got.
Right. So my point is that freedom exists is something that's internal, right? Like, or maybe a better way of saying it is liberation is something that's internal.
Yep.
Freedom is like maybe more external, right? Because you can be locked up in different manners of speaking, but still
Yes.
be liberated
Absolutely.
internally.
And that is a concept that I dance with because I feel it in my body. I believe it to be true. I've read too many accounts of people who are locked up who feel free, and at least for me, it resonates off the page that this person is free, and what their locale is not what's determining um, the freedom that they're experiencing. And I've also felt times, like anecdotally, where I felt completely free to do whatever, but felt completely imprisoned in
Hmm.
my own mind.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I guess I just enjoy turning this over on its head, especially times when I feel trapped by life at times and goes like, no, I'm free. I'm free at every moment to make a choice, to not make a choice.
That's it. It's the power of choice. That's freedom.
Yes.
No one can ever take away your power of choice. God gave you your power of choice. So, like I was going back to, that the only reason we're here is to be the embodiment of love, which is being in alignment with God's will and God's expression. But God even gives you the choice to do that or not. Like you don't have to be in alignment with God's will. And if you don't, you're going to suffer. Right. But if you do, then you feel good. But no matter what someone is imposing on you externally, you can still choose to be loving. And if you choose to be loving, then you're experiencing divinity internally.
I agree.
Yeah.
For me, what I'm practicing and growing in is like loving someone and saying, how do I love them? How do I honor myself, and love them? And that used to mean, how nice could I be to them, or kind?
Right.
Um, Even overlooking, long suffering, which I still try to be. But there's definitely times where me loving someone means being the mirror to say, no, you really missed the mark right here,
Right.
and I love you. So I'm not. I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to have this conversation. I'm going to end this version of connecting in the relationship because of the rupture that happened, or whatever, because I love you. And there are obviously times I have not, but that's been a practice for me right now. It's like not saying, "Oh, I love you," and so it all looks like flowers. It's like accepting all of it and giving all of it as love.
Hmm.
Uh, and I haven't seen very many examples that I can look to of it, but it feels very good to be on this path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the way.
This is the way.
Uh-huh.
So in music, what are you hoping to accomplish besides 1 million followers and fans? Like, what are you hoping to create, to give, to offer up?
Well, it's not like I was saying, I'm not wanting 1 million followers to validate my ego. I'm wanting 1 million followers to be able to influence that many people at least, right? Because music is so powerful to change our state of mind and our state of being. And there's a lot of extremely toxic music that exists in popular culture. And there's plenty of artists in the Dharma Glow community. And I'm one of those that makes music intentionally and consciously to be expansive
Yep.
and to help people heal. So if I'm talking to you, it's just like this podcast, right? We're having a conversation that we're both getting value out of it, but when we record it, we're able to do one to many, actually one to an infinite amount,
It
because this can be listened to infinitely, right?
some different number of times, many people. Yep.
Exactly. But the thing about a podcast is like, especially a podcast like this, is people have to be interested in something that we're talking about, whether it's personal development
Yep.
or spirituality or something like that. It's like more people are going to watch a story based film than a documentary,
Yep.
right? So more people are going to gravitate to something entertaining than something educational. So the key is to put the education in
And the
the
entertainment.
entertainment. And the most entertaining thing and the most universal thing is music. Because, like, think about it, like, books are dope. Everybody can't read. Everyone doesn't have the money to buy a book.
Yep.
Music is free, and music, especially melody, is universal in the sense that you don't have to know the language, right? Like, if you hear a melody and it's catchy, somebody who speaks a different language can sing
Can
every
still
word to the song, even if they don't know what the words
for
mean,
sure.
right? So, loving on myself today, loving on myself today, all meditation, no limitation, loving on myself, ashe.
Ashe.
There it is.
Ashe. Ashe.
So it's like I want to create as many of those messages with as many artists and get, different perspectives, different tones, different genres, but all with the intention of spreading love out as far as possible. So I know when I have that attention and I put my attention on creating and showing up and facing the inner blocks that I may have to being seen or to showing up or to, you know, not watching the Australian Open and instead of like writing this song,
Yep.
when I'm like choosing it. Cause that 1,000,000 followers or whatever anyone has accomplished, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens because somebody chose for it to happen. Kobe Bryant became who he was because he chose to go to the
We know
gym
we're
at
gonna
4
talk about
a.m.
Kobe.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a choice. It's a choice. So when he was at the beginning of his career, and like I would imagine some people, if they heard me talk about the 1,000,000 followers, if they're still listening, may be like, who does this guy think he is? Like popping
I
off
just
like,
told you
I
who
just
I
told you
was.
who I thought I was. Um, by the way, I'm going out to LA shortly for Kobe Day. But it's just a decision. So when he was coming into the league and he said, I want to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time, people were like, who does this kid
Yeah,
think he
17
is?
years old.
Yeah. And he just is like, I just told you.
Yeah.
And he followed through. So it's just a matter of making a decision and then following through on that decision. And that's not just me, that's every human being.
Agreed.
Every human being has the ability to manifest their destiny. If they have a vision in your mind, if you have a vision in your mind, then there's a good chance it's ordainedly uh, gifted to you. And if you can see it, you can be it if you dedicate your life to the achievement of it. Right. And so for me, I want to spread love as far as I can. And like I said, like that's the best way. And that's what I know it's the best way because it inspires me the most.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that's what I've always loved. Like since I was a little kid, I used to go to concerts and just get like lose track of time and get taken away in these other realms. Or when I would do open mic nights, when I was younger, I would literally black out on stage. Like I would go out with my guitar, perform, and people would come off and they'd be like, oh man, that was great. And I wouldn't remember a thing about it,
Mm,
you know? So it's been something that's been there waiting to be fully expressed. And now I'm just not afraid of it anymore. Like
I
I'm
love that.
excited about it.
I love that. Do you remember the first song that you heard that made you want to do music, or the time in your life where you were like, oh, this is my jam?
Hmm. You know, yeah, I do. And it's interesting because I went to a 90% white Christian private college preparatory school.
Okay.
So I have a blended cultural
Same.
input. And up until 8th grade, the only music I listened to was Black music. Like the first concert I went to was MC Hammer and TLC. The second one was Mary J. Blige and Biggie and Puffy. And like that was my world. I used to listen to Outkast all the time. I got into Eminem and like all that. But I went to a white school, so I had a lot of white friends, and one of them played Crash Into Me, Dave Matthews Band.
Mm.
And that was my first time kinda, like, hearing a guitar, like, not hearing non-hip hop
Yep,
or
yep,
rap
for
music.
sure.
Like, I think I had probably heard, like, Babyface, and he plays guitar, but, "When can I see you
But
again?"
with this when you
But
heard it.
but this one, I heard it in a different way, and I was like, "Oh, I wanna play guitar. I wanna know how to play this song."
Yeah.
Right? It just hit me different. So I started learning how to play guitar, and it was challenging and difficult, but I also loved it, like, immediately,
Yep.
you know?
I love that. I think, yeah, I love that. I love music. You definitely inspire me. I think to even decide something at 41 years old and say, I'm all in, I'm going. Um, any advice for people? That's really our tribe is like people who are going, I'm doing this inner child work. I've always loved this. I always wanted to do it and I was afraid for whatever reason. Any words that you could say to them as they either begin or continue on the journey of chasing what their heart really desires, what their gift really is, and offering their medicine unapologetically, unashamedly to the world.
It takes more energy to hold it in than it does to express it. It just takes the inertia getting started, so the hardest part is going from stop to moving or moving to stop. Once you're in motion, it's easy. So or it gets easier.
Yeah.
So you need to start with something very small and develop consistency and develop confidence in yourself to do that thing by being consistent. And James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits. He says, start before you can master a habit, you have to establish a habit. So let's say you are wanting to start writing more rhymes, right? Then you need to put that into your day somewhere where it's like you always do that after a certain thing, right? So let's say you drink coffee. You drink coffee, and then once, as your coffee is being made, you put on a beat and you freestyle
Yeah.
for 2 minutes, right? Because you can do 2 minutes. And if you can't do 2 minutes of something, you need to be quiet and not talk about it anymore. Because if you're not willing to do that, then you don't actually want it, right?
Period.
But if you do want it, you can do 2 minutes of a thing, or that could be drawing, that could be yoga, it could be writing a poem, it could